Hello and welcome to Lois and Morgana Davidson Art. It's Morgana here, and today I'll be sharing this impressionistic landscape demo painted using watercolour. But first, a quick reminder that Lois Davidson's wonderful new book, Landscapes in Watercolour, Techniques and Tutorials for the Complete Beginner, is available to order now from all good booksellers. Now, back to the video. I'm beginning with a wash of clean water, applying it across my watercolour paper, which I've got taped to my board and lying flat. I'll be using a tool called a catalyst wedge today to apply my first layer of colour, which is something more often used for acrylics or oils, but it's great for watercolour painting too. I've squeezed out 4 colours of tube paint directly onto the long end of the wedge here. We've got Payne's Grey, Lavender Blue, Burnt Sienna and Ultramarine Blue. To use the catalyst wedge, hold it at an angle to the paper and sweep it along so that you're getting an even spread of this beautiful mixed colour. You can use any colours you want. This is just 4 that I've chosen just because they are 4 of my favourite colours and I think they work pretty well together. This is how I'm sort of building the landscape today. This is going to be my main landscape feature. You can also use an old credit card or store card to do this, which I often do, or a palette knife works well for this technique as well. Basically just whatever works best for you. To add extra water to the paper in order to really get that watercolour paint moving, a water spray bottle or a mister is a great way to do this. I'm adding a simple sky today using this lovely pale blue tone that I mixed up from 3 separate colours. This is a blend of Payne's Grey, Ultramarine and a little lavender. You can always go back in and apply some more paint using the catalyst wedge or a brush if you prefer, in areas that the paint has thinned down more than you intended with the added water. You can also use this tool to begin scraping into the paint that's left on the paper, creating a variety of loose marks and textures. Lastly, I'm adding a sprinkle of salt into the wet stage here, just to create even more patterns and shapes as the painting dries. So this is how the salt looks 5 minutes after application. You can see it's beginning to take effect. We've got these delicate white blooms beginning to form across the foreground here where I sprinkled most of the salt. And this is how it looks now that it's fully dry. To turn this into a finished landscape, we need to add a couple of landscape features into this impressionistic painting that we've created so far. I'm starting today with a simple fence coming across the foreground and stretching into the midground, painted very simply, like so, using my flat brush for the posts, and I'm going to use my liner brush to connect them all together. I'm also using the liner brush to add some faint misty trees along this ridge here in the background. Use light watery paint for a misty ethereal look. I'm also using my liner brush to add some simple marks into the foreground using a combination of burnt sienna and Payne's grey. Now I'm happy with how the landscape looks so far, so it's time to add a little touch of something special. I'm using opaque white gouache to paint a thin crescent moon to create a focal point. You could also use an opaque white watercolour paint to do this, or apply some masking fluid in the crescent moon shape before you begin your painting process. I'm also adding some spatter detail using my fan brush across the foreground and midground. I love the effect that this creates, how the pale spatters seem to enhance the salt blooms. I think they look like little tufts of seed or moths or fireflies lifting up from the field and drifting up into the night sky. But perhaps that's just me. Finally, I used some more white to turn one or two of these spatter droplets into stars. And that's it. Here is the finished painting. Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to pick up a copy of Landscapes in Watercolour if you haven't already. Wishing you all a wonderful rest of the week, folks, and very happy painting.